Wow, you guys got so quiet. I'm so happy to be here and welcome everyone to the 12th Annual Students for Liberty Awards Dinner. I graduated college in 1986, which predates every student in this room, the internet, and cell phones. It wasn't totally the dark ages, though. We did have ATMs, and we did have electricity. But we didn't have Students for Liberty, and that was a big problem. I went to Grove City College. I think there were 3 other libertarians on campus, or at least I knew of 3. There was no network, there was no easy way to connect with people that had similar views, like-minded views. So I did things the old-fashioned way, and I went to a fraternity party, and that's where I met the 3 libertarians. One, Scott Bullock, has gone on to be president of Institute for Justice. Pete Boettke is now, in my opinion, one of the best Austrian economics professors. He's at George Mason University. And the 3rd libertarian, this guy named Matt, I ended up marrying. But imagine, thanks, Kyle. Imagine what it would have been like, though, if there was a way to connect with people, to meet other people, if Students for Liberty existed in 1986. I mean, they started 12 years ago. They had their first conference in New York City with about 200 people. Today, there are 1,300 people participating, which is just amazing growth. I was at the first Students for Liberty in Europe in 2011, and there were about 200 students there. Last November, we spoke to about 700 students in Belgrade. The growth is just absolutely amazing. You know, when I was 20, I really couldn't imagine a liberty movement that is so vibrant as it is today. It gives me hope and optimism, surprisingly enough, for the future. But we really can't see that this would have ever happened without Students for Liberty. They truly were the catalyst for all of this. And I think that you would probably agree with me. So as your MC tonight, it's my job to keep you the whole night running on time. And for those of you who know me, you realize that that's not an easy task for me. So I'm gonna work really hard to keep it short and sweet and on time. I know that this dinner program stands between you and the bar at the reception afterwards. So I'm not gonna read long bios for the speakers. Most of these don't need any introduction, and if you want to learn more about them, please look to your program because full bios are there. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Students for Liberty's CEO, Dr. Wolf von Lehr. Wolf started in 2011 as a student leader in Europe, and he, along with many other student leaders through Students for Liberty, have grown the movement there with hundreds of events and tens of thousands of attendees. So please welcome Students for Liberty's CEO, Dr. Wolf von Lehr.
Welcome everyone to this year's Students for Liberty Awards Dinner. I'm so thrilled to see so many of you here tonight. Not only because you will be celebrating our most successful students tonight, but also because you make Students for Liberty possible. Many of you are here as part of our donor network. You're supporters, you're part of the host committee, and your generosity makes our work possible. And I want to say specifically thank you to the host committee members and also to Dale Bottoms. But you also represent, yeah, sure, why not? But you're also here because you represent so many partner organizations we're working with, not only in this country, but all around the world. And I'm really grateful for your support so that you give speakers and tools and resources to our students so they can get out there and fight the good fight every single day. And last and not least, I want to thank all of the volunteer leaders here tonight because you are working tirelessly every single day so that you push the needle forward towards more liberty. But now, I want to talk about why Students for Liberty is needed more than ever. Because when I'm thinking about college campuses, a couple of images come to mind, and they're not necessarily good ones. One being that students are that ignorant that they're still wearing t-shirts like this one. Exactly, boo. Che Guevara, a murderous socialist who killed himself, hundreds if not thousands of people, hating black people, hating gay people, hating everyone, basically, while hailing an ideology that has killed over 100 million of individuals. When I'm thinking about universities, I also see that many students these days undermine the very bedrock of civilization, which is free speech. This is a replica of a protest sign that we have seen at different locations in the United States, in the UK, and Australia. It says, "We condemn freedom of speech that hurts other people's feelings." And that is the lack of pro-liberty education at many universities. Not all of them, but many universities. And another part of that is the lack of skill training. Because students graduate from this country with an accumulated debt of $1.5 trillion, but often very little skills to show for. A recent McKinsey study has shown that 2 out of 3 employers say that they cannot employ recent graduates without extensive additional skill training, because they frankly don't have the skills that it takes to succeed in the workforce. Now, you and our partnership is really tackling this head on. Students that come through our programs are properly dressed, they're eloquent, and they've read Mises, Hayek, and Rand. But they're not only educated themselves, but they also educate others. Last year, our students organized 1,482 events with 65,180 attendees. 1,482 events with over 65,000 people. And these are more events and attendees in a single year than in the last 10 years combined, ladies and gentlemen. And you can imagine what this means. Like this dinner, it generates excitement, it generates optimism, it creates friendships. And so people will go out there with recharged batteries to continue to fight for the ideas of liberty. But behind each one of these 482 events, there's a student or a team of students that learn something new. So let me introduce you tonight to one of these students so that you get an idea, because you will hear a lot of stories about students tonight. And please keep this number, 1,482, 65,000 people in mind, because these are the students that will make a difference right now. So the student I want to talk about tonight, her name is Natalie Lee. She is a student at Harvard and a master's student, and she has been a volunteer leader for Students for Liberty for many years now. She has recruited hundreds of students to come to our events, and she organized one of the biggest libertarian events in recent history at Harvard University. But that's not it. She also wrote in the Harvard Crimson about the stupid free speech or anti-free speech policies of Harvard. And while she's doing all of this for Students for Liberty, she was also working for an organization called Young Independence Women's Voice to teach hundreds, if not thousands, of women around the United States about economics and government. Natalie, please stand up. So, this is only one example of thousands of students that we provide training and leadership skills with every single day. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the beginning. Because imagine what this means for the future. These students will graduate, they will become deans of universities, they will become think tank leaders, politicians, chief of staff, academics, policy analysts. And that's what we need if we want to make a difference in the world. We need to have good pro-liberty advocates in all segments of society. And Students for Liberty is around now for 12 years, and we already can see the results now. Tonight, I have the great honor to actually give out the Alumni of the Year Award to a very special human being who has done so much work for Students for Liberty when he was a leader back then. His name is Fabrizio Sanfelice. No. No, sit down. No, not yet. Enjoy your salad. Thank you. First, let me tell you all why Fabrizio is so amazing. Because he was not always a libertarian. As a matter of fact, and I hope you don't mind me telling the audience, in 2010, he was still voting for the socialist President Dilma Rousseff, who was recently impeached because of the corruption charges. But since then, many things have changed. He went out there, learned about the ideas of liberty, and then eventually about Students for Liberty. And he found his crowd. He found many friends within Students for Liberty, and he started dozens of groups across the country. Some of these groups have over 500 members frequently gathering. He spoke at an event in front of 200,000 people in the streets of Sao Paulo protesting against corruption, against socialism, and against big unions. But that's not it. He then co-founded the most successful cryptocurrency corporation in Brazil, with over 120 people now being employed. And several of these people are actually our Students for Liberty folks, because Fabrizio knows what kind of high-quality leaders we have, and he hired a bunch of them. Still, that's not it. So he founded a very successful corporation, he changed public discourse in his country, and he recently helped many different politicians being elected, pro-liberty politicians being elected in his country, and we had 4 alumni actually being elected to state parliaments and national parliaments. And that's why you're amazing, Fabrizio. Please come up on stage.
I have 1 minute?
Sure.
Can I say a few words? Okay. When we founded the Club Farroupilha, we did it to impact our city and create economic debate in the academic environment. However, as we joined Students for Liberty, we saw that we could do so much more. We could create a community and form leaders to impact and serve as inspiration for each other, who share the same desire to grow professionally and make our country freer. So we did it. It was in Students for Liberty that I saw the opportunity to build the base of my career. I saw in the opportunity to work with people who think big and who actually change things. Sometimes it will be hard to explain to our family and friends why and what we are doing, but that doesn't matter. You have to believe in that and have to dedicate yourself 100%. That's what I did, and that's what I hope everyone here does. Dedicate yourself, work hard, spend nights working, debating, succeeding, and give it back to Students for Liberty, because you need to give it back. Remember, that was with the pillars of this organization that we did it. If you believe and you work hard, you can contribute to the impeachment of a corrupted president, you can form the largest libertarian group in the world, you can elect libertarian people to Congress, and you can create a 100 million company. All that you can do, and you can change the world. So many thanks for Students for Liberty International, to Fernando Miranda, our global president of Students for Liberty Brazil, to Club Farroupilha to form me, and to, of course, my family, because they support me all the time. Thank you so much, guys.
And this is just one of the many alumni that we have around the world. And it really instills a lot of hope in me, and I'm sure it does in you too, to see individuals like that within just 1 decade can change the whole country significantly. And this, ladies and gentlemen, what you will be hearing tonight is what Students for Liberty is doing. But this is often what universities are doing. Not always, but often. But we are ready to scale and to fight back against the rising tide of the Red Sea of socialism. This year, we have a $3.9 million budget to produce over 2,700 more leaders like Natalie, like Fabrizio. And I want to thank all of you because you're making this possible because of your donations, because of your time, because of your partnership. And I wish you all a wonderful evening, and thank you so, so much.
Congratulations, Fabrizio, and thank you all for those remarks. It's now my pleasure to introduce Sloane Frost to the stage. Sloane was one of the founders of Students for Liberty, and she's now currently the chairwoman of their board of directors. She will be presenting the Student Awards tonight, so please help me welcome Sloane to the stage.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new hotel. Very exciting for SFL this year. Actually, how many of you are joining us for your first LibertyCon? Wow, excellent. Welcome, welcome. I'm not just singling you out so that we can talk to you more later, but you know, maybe that might happen. And is there anyone here who's joining us for the 12th time? McCoben and Sam. Yep, okay. So I look over there because when Alexander and Sam and I started Students for Liberty, we, as many of you have heard this story, I won't tell the whole thing, but we didn't think that it was possible. We didn't think there was ever going to be an organization like this. So to be in a room with all of you tonight with our top student leaders from all over the world who have accomplished tremendous things, it's inspirational, it's moving, and I appreciate it. So thank you all for being here tonight. So. And as much as Alexander and Sam and I have fought and been friends for the last 12 years, we've become family. And unfortunately, there are some of the SFL family members who are no longer with us. And I'd like to ask you to join me in taking a moment to remember those of our family who are no longer with us. Thank you. And now for the more joyous part of the evening. It's my privilege to be presenting the 49th annual, I don't know, we've been doing this for a long time, awards for the Event of the Year, the Group of the Year, and the Student of the Year. We'll start tonight with the Event of the Year award, and for the nominees, please direct our attention to the video screens.
Event of the Year, Ankara Regional Conference. Ankara Regional Conference this past year was Students for Liberty's most internationally diverse student conference to date. It hosted students from over 32 countries to discuss topics such as the libertarian theory of the state, liberalism and democracy, the Islamic case for liberty, how to inspire social change, and the anti-business mentality. Despite the increasingly authoritarian political climate in Turkey, the Ankara Regional Conference had 192 participants engaged in discussion of how to advance the ideas of liberty throughout the Middle East, Europe, and Central Asia. Thinking Better Together Colloquia Series. South Asia's Students for Liberty reimagined the Socratic forums of ancient Greece to create the Thinking Better Together Colloquia Series. Attendees read reading selections on topics including Uberization of the world, Our Vices Crimes, and the economics of politics prior to roundtable Socratic discussions at the event in an open forum. South Asia Students for Liberty organized over 30 colloquia with more than 450 attendees. West African Regional Conference. The 2018 West Africa Regional Conference in Ibadan, Nigeria, hosted over 385 participants from across West Africa. The conference addressed many topics, including migration, drug policy, and trade, but the most controversial topic addressed was LGBT rights. Last year, the executive director of the Initiative for Equal Rights, a Nigeria-based nonprofit organization working to protect and promote the human rights of sexual minorities, found the courage to publicly identify as a gay man for the first time. This past year, the head of Equality Hub, an organization working to advance the rights and well-being of female sexual minorities in Nigeria, spoke on the need to create a society where people are judged on the content of their character rather than sexual orientation. She later posted on social media that the private messages she received from participants in support of this issue were overwhelming.
And congratulations to the 2019 event of the year, the West African Regional Conference.
Thank you, everyone. I feel really honored accepting this award on behalf of the West African team. In fact, on behalf of the African team itself, because not just West Africa who held this event, Africa held this event together. To the members of the staff who assisted us in having the event, to members of the volunteer team, I remember how we had the Atlas Liberty Forum just 2 weeks before the event, and just after we had returned back to our various places, we heard, okay, we need to come back and prepare ahead of time for the event. And everybody was complaining, but then they put up through stress and put their hearts to it and got this event running. And the last minute publicity was crazy, and we had people calling us from Ghana, had people calling us from Sierra Leone, telling us they want to attend the event. And it was amazing when they attended, and we had the LGBT rights discussion that created crazy atmosphere in the room. It was amazing. We had students walk up to the speakers later and tell them, okay, you just changed my mind. And this is an example of the kind of work we do in Africa. And we want to say thank you for the chance to change the minds of students one at a time. Thank you, Students for Liberty. Thanks to every donor who takes out their time, who gives out their money to assist us in pulling up this kind of event. Thank you very much. On behalf of Africa and on behalf of the West African team, I say thank you to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, people from Ghana call me all the time with problems. Transportation. It's amazing. It's funny how many parallels happened over the years, because our first SFL conference was troubled by a snow blizzard. I think many of you have been to previous international conferences. There was Snowmageddon a few years ago, and yet somehow liberty always prevails. Students find a way to attend, and it's because of amazing organizers. And so congratulations again. Our next event of the evening is for the Group of the Year.
Clube Farroupilha. Clube Farroupilha won Group of the Year this year in SFL's Brazil region. The club's biggest success this year is the election of former club president Giuseppe Riesco to the State Congress of Rio Grande do Sul, the state of Brazil in which the club is based, as the youngest politician in the state at 23 years old. Many club members and alumni came together to form the campaign staff that achieved this result. One of the club's founders, Fabricio Sanfelice, was named SFL Brazil's Alumnus of the Year for 2018. Clube Farroupilha also hosted David Friedman and many other international speakers this year for the 4th annual Interdisciplinary Farroupilha Symposium, where over 700 people attended what became the largest liberal event in the interior of Brazil. Clube Farroupilha created the Center of Leadership Development to cultivate an entrepreneurial mentality in their leaders, and they regularly engage in philanthropic activities, including donating over 170 pounds of food for Christmas this past year. Students for Liberty España. Students for Liberty España is a network of 30 coordinators and 500 members across Spain. In 2018, they hosted a regional conference with over 300 attendees. SFL España raised over $4,000 from local sponsors, and throughout 2018, the group organized over 30 local events, including conferences, lectures, protests, and debates about the principles of liberty, gay rights, blockchain, the minimum wage, and the situation in Venezuela. SFL España organized the Tax Freedom Day campaign, where they distributed flyers explaining how taxpayers' money is spent from the budget. The group also participated in a pride demonstration. Students for Liberty España has also prepared their members for success in their careers, and former leaders in this group have gone on to roles such as Deputy Director for the Institute Juan de Mariana, one of the primary classical liberal organizations in Spain. Students for Liberty Mexico. Students for Liberty Mexico formed in late 2014. Since then, group members have traveled across the country to organize events and reach leaders, even in remote villages and areas threatened by drug cartels. They have encountered stiff opposition from conservative groups and leaders to cease their activities, including censorship by a Mexican state governor, who shut down their largest planned event last year, a conference titled Sex, Drugs, and Liberty because of its title. Despite these many hurdles, Students for Liberty Mexico organized 55 events, 6 regional conferences, 12 leadership fora, and impacted over 4,500 leaders in 2018. In the last year, SFL Mexico has sent members to attend seminars and trainings all over the world. In February 2019, SFL Mexico will debut the newest addition to the LibertyCon brand, LibertyCon Latin America in Mexico City.
And keep that applause going for the group of the year, Clube Farroupilha.
Well, good night. I would like to thank all Farroupilha's members, former presidents, SFL International, SFL Brazil, and our speakers. Just because we have your support, we did in 2018 events for roughly 2,000 attendees. More than a number, it represents lives that were impacted by our job. And by this job, our leadership core developed 10 new leaders to impact even more lives. With them, we did philanthropic activities and became the first and only group to elect a congressperson. There, Giuseppe Iasco. These awards represent the international recognition that we pursue really day by day. We work night by night to achieve it. And we only have the possibility to turn these projects real because SFL's community offers us the possibility to know each other as a family. And it's wonderful to have the opportunity to take part in a family that enable us to foresee a world in which even the impossible is possible. Thank you. Oh, it's not mine.
They're like the New England Patriots. They just keep winning. I say that out of respect, not as a Packers fan. It's funny, actually, because they've taught me so much about speaking Portuguese, which I can't. I'm part Mexican, so Viva Mexico, you guys were amazing up there. Like they said, you speak Spanish with a German accent. So, Clube Farroupilha. I hope I keep saying that name over and over again. You guys are amazing. Congratulations. And our final event of the year, award of the year, perhaps the most coveted award, forget the Emmys and the Golden Globes, is for the Student of the Year. And the nominees are on your video screen now.
Justin Anderson. Justin Anderson is North America's Western Regional Director for Students for Liberty. Last year, Justin organized a memorial with 500 handmade crosses on the steps of the Utah State Capitol for the victims of school gun violence to raise money for clinics providing mental health access to youth who cannot afford it. He worked with Project Homeless Connect, where he worked to educate the homeless on ballot issues and help them register to vote. And he's planning a leadership forum between SFL student leaders and the Utah County Sheriff, where students will have the chance to practice SWAT drills and discuss the execution of drug search warrants and the impact of the drug war with law enforcement. Justin is the Volunteer Director of Development with Marafiki Africa, a nonprofit that teaches business principles to small business owners and entrepreneurs to help create a thriving economy in small communities in East Africa. Justin is also a Shriner and sits on the fundraising committee for the Shriners Hospitals for Children. In 2018, Justin fundraised more than $50,000 to provide free medical care for children at the Salt Lake City Shriners Hospital. He filed the paperwork to start his own organization, Utah's Second Chance, that focuses on harm reduction through a needle exchange program and providing resources to help with domestic abuse, substance abuse, and employment. Early in 2018, Justin successfully ran for vice chair of the Utah County Democratic Party, and most recently, Justin was appointed chief of staff to the Utah County Clerk. Ayman Fatima. Ayman is chairwoman of South Asia Students for Liberty's executive board. Over the last year, Ayman has led the growth of the South Asia region, more than doubling the number of coordinators. As regional director for developing regions, she started SFL in Pakistan from scratch, securing 80 program applications in the first year and over 300 this past year. In Afghanistan, Ayman trained and coached leaders to run events, including SFL's first event in Kabul, which was delayed by 1 hour due to a suicide bombing up the street. In her first year with SFL, Ayman hosted a virtual reading group with the highest number of registrants to date, and participants from 5 countries discussing Ken Schoolin's book, The Adventures of Jonathan Gullible. She participated in a protest of the World Health Organization's Framework on Tobacco Control conference in Delhi. Most recently, Ayman joined Ladies of Liberty Alliance as the International Outreach Coordinator and has already helped the organization expand to 7 countries in just 3 months. Ayman is currently studying pharmacology and plans to use her background to work on healthcare and drug policy reform. Leah Janelitz. Leah Janelitz is the former Black Sea Regional Director and current South Caucasus Regional Director for European Students for Liberty, a region that includes her home country of Georgia, as well as Armenia and Azerbaijan. Leah co-founded Georgian Students for Liberty in 2012, which won SFL's Group of the Year in 2018, and currently is comprised of more than 20 active coordinators. Leah has been a fundraising champion for Georgian Students for Liberty, growing their revenue from $3,000 in 2015 to $30,000 this year. This included funding for the largest regional conference ever held in Europe, with over 900 participants in Tbilisi. Her fundraising also supported the No Nanny store in Tbilisi Mall to raise awareness among consumers about the harmfulness of costly paternalistic policies, especially tobacco regulations in Georgia. In addition to her work with European Students for Liberty, Leah manages an international co-working space called Impact Hub, where she works with entrepreneurs to help get their startups off the ground.
And congratulations to the 2019 Student of the Year award winner, Ayman Fatima.
Good evening, everyone. I'm greatly honored and humbly privileged to be receiving this award. SFL has been quite a journey for me, from joining it back 2 years ago as a local coordinator. Everything I've learned about libertarianism has been from the SFL Academy, Coming from a science background, I knew nothing of free markets or property rights or drug policies. And through that year, I've had the opportunity to be the local coordinator, to going on to be the chair of events and regional director for developing regions, and expanding from 2 to 3 countries to now 7 countries in South Asia. The movement over here has nurtured me in unprecedented ways and advanced me socially, and at the same time given me a platform to further the movement in our communities. I want to thank all the leaders in South Asia. We have 6 board members with us today at LibertyCon. Thank you to everyone who has been a part of Journey in South Asia. I also want to point out that SFL symbolizes a platform for being inclusive in nature, and it has a universal idea for liberty that transcends beyond any kind of ethnicity, race, or religion, and is advancing liberty in all these developing regions and in all over the world. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of my journey and to creating more movements in liberty and strengthening our movement. Thank you.
Congratulations, you were amazing. Congratulations. 900 people at a regional conference, organizing events despite the government trying to shut you down, facing fear and violence, crossing borders where there are many who want to force you to stay where you are, thinking things that might be illegal or harmful or put you in danger. The things that our students do every day to advocate for liberty it's beautiful. I mean, it's inspirational. It makes me hate my job in consulting. And I think that if there is anything that comes out of SFL, whether it's the number of people who are here, the relationships you make, I think it's that our world is truly becoming freer when these students are doing what they do so well. And so I don't mean it as just a saying, but I really do think that all the nominees here earned it and could be winners because everyone is just absolutely fantastic. So yeah. So thank you all so much to our students. Thank you to our supporters who have helped our students to get this far. Thank you all for being here tonight. And I hope you enjoy your dinner, which should be served shortly. Thank you.